The Looney Tunes, one of, if not the most popular cartoon series to grace our televisions since the 1930s, bringing us classics like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, and of course, Sylvester and Tweety. Sylvester and Tweety made their first official appearances in the 1940s, but unlike today, they were not together. It was not till 1947 where the titular pair were first paired together. From there, they became one of the iconic duos throughout the Looney Tunes franchise. In 1994, they starred in their very first video game together for the Sega Mega Drive, called Sylvester and Tweety in Cagey Capers. It was developed by Alexandria and published by Time Warner Interactive, and today I shall be reviewing it. Now, I would give a spoiler warning, but there's not really anything to spoil. So, without further ado, please enjoy. Have you seen an episode of Looney Tunes involving these two? If so, then you know the story. If not, then here you go. You play as Sylvester and you're trying to catch Tweety. There really is not anything more to it. It was released at a time where if a video game did have a story, it was not in depth like today's games. So yeah. There is pretty much no story other than it effectively being a new episode of the cartoon show itself. I don't think there's anything wrong with this, and I remember as a child, it was all I ever needed. Cagey Capers is a platformer. You play as Sylvester the cat and must make your way through each level chasing Tweety along the way. Tweety will stay still until you get to him, at which point he shall move to a different part of the level. Once you make it to his final position and catch him, that's the level over. As you go through the levels, you earn points. This can be from picking up items, knocking things on the floor, and scratching at Tweety as he runs away. You have a thing called the Tweety Scope, which moves the camera to Tweety's position so that you know where you're going. You will find enemies throughout the levels who will constantly attack you until you die, hide, or subdue them with an item of some sort. These enemies consist of Granny, Hector the dog, and Sam the alley cat. You can use items like bones and boxing gloves to protect yourself, but you can also use your claws as well. I personally would advise against combat though. Fighting was not something I bothered much with, to be honest, and I mainly found that hiding and running was much easier. There are a couple of levels in which Tweety gets all Frankenstein-like and tries to eat you. These become more difficult, as you have to throw a potion at him to revert him to normal, and then chase him to his spots around the level. All the while, him changing back and you having to find more potions. Not the most simple of levels, I have to say, and quite a frustrating game mechanic. And that's pretty much it. You can use other items to help get through the levels, such as pogo sticks, springs, and stacking items, but overall there is not much to it. It is a simple platformer with some power-ups, lives, and a total of 7 levels. I personally actually found the gameplay quite difficult. The jumping felt very floaty and inaccurate. This made getting through each level a lot more of a chore than it should have been. I also found the level layout a bit of a mess sometimes. The levels were actually quite large, and it was not like other games of the time where you go from left to right. You actually had to get from the bottom to the top for most of them, meaning you were going back on yourself a lot. And if you missed a jump, then god damn it. This is kind of understandable though. Games in this era were short but difficult. Difficulty was ramped right up to extend the length of the game. It's interesting because apparently it was made easier just before release. I hate to think how it would have been originally. Graphically, it's not too bad. For 1994, it is pretty good and still holds up pretty well today, to be fair. The characters all look like they should, and everything looks good in the movement. Everything is faithful to the cartoon, and the devs have done a really good job making this look like an episode. Musically, it's not that great, to be perfectly honest. There are only a few tracks within the game, and they're not that great. They just repeat and don't have much to them. The sound effects though are decent, from the springs to the thuds when you hit the wall, all the way to Sylvester and Tweety's iconic catchphrases. Overall, Sylvester and Tweety in Cagey Capers is a fun game. It's just how I remember it from when I was a kid, except the difficulty annoys me a lot more now than it did as a child. So, although it's a fun game, is it a good game? In all honesty, it's not the greatest. Although I had fun, that is subjective. But objectively, the level design is awkward, the jumping mechanic is far too floaty, and it is extremely short. When you put it up against other releases for that year, such as Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Super Metroid, Final Fantasy VI, and many, many others, it unfortunately does not hold up in terms of being a good game. But hey, that's my opinion. Did you ever play this game? If so, what did you think? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Don't forget to drop a like, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to keep up to date on all the latest content. And in the age-old words of Looney Tunes,
that's all, folks.